is Veronica. So I'm assuming since you're watching this video that you're planning a wedding. So congratulations. Even if you're not planning a wedding and you're just interested in wedding videos, that's fine too. I'm just going to give you a few tips, a few things that I've learned in my own experience planning my wedding. My husband and I got married April 17th of 2016, almost 2 years now. So just a few things that I learned along the way of planning, and just some things that would really help you to save some money. So first things first, I also have my notebook here, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. First things first, before you do anything else, you want to make sure to set a budget. So the budget is going to be the most important thing. It's going to really tell what else, how much everything and how much you can allot to different things for your wedding in terms of your budget. So you want to be realistic with your budget. You don't want to set a budget that's too high, and you also don't want to set a budget too low based off of some of the wants or the things that you want to have in or with your wedding. Whether it be you and your fiance planning it, whether it be your parents helping you or contributing to it, whatever the case, you do also want to keep in mind and be realistic. You still have to live after your wedding. There's still bills you want to pay. So you do want to keep that in mind in terms of planning your budget. So that would be the first thing that you definitely need to do. And then after that, you definitely want to set your date. In terms of your date, so my husband and I, we personally got married in the month of April because that's when we first started dating and met each other. So we wanted April, but if you are not set on a specific month or anything, of course, summer and spring weddings will be more expensive, and not even necessarily more expensive. They're going to book up quicker because that's prime time for weddings. So you do want to keep that in mind when you are setting a date. If you do want a spring or summer wedding, you want to try to pick that as soon as you can, and lock down a venue. If, as opposed to a November or December or winter wedding, a lot of people are not necessarily going to be wanting to get married in those months. So you do want to keep that in mind. Also, the day of your wedding, we actually had a Sunday wedding. The venue that we chose, it actually saved us $4,000 or $5,000 as opposed to us having it on a Saturday. So it is something to consider, whether it be a Friday or a Sunday wedding. Usually Saturdays are more desirable, of course, because people are off work, travel, things of that nature. So that is something to consider, a Sunday or a Friday wedding. Even a wedding during the week, that can be very difficult as well with family and friends traveling, but that is something also to think about in terms of saving money if you are trying to budget. And the next thing you do want to decide on is your venue. Venue, for us personally, we were planning our wedding out of state. We lived in the state of Connecticut and we were planning our wedding in New Orleans at the time. So most important to me was an all-inclusive venue. I wanted something that had the bar, the DJ, the music, decor, literally everything. I could just walk in and it was finished. Our wedding venue even came with a day of wedding coordinator, so it was really easy. Our venue was the Balcony Ballroom in Metairie, Louisiana, and I'll link them down below. They were very helpful throughout everything. Most of our contact was through email, so that was very helpful. Whatever it is that you want with your venue, you do want to keep that in mind. I think all-inclusive is easier way to do it because they just provide usually more of a bang for your buck instead of trying to buy everything individually, where you're trying to buy flowers individually, decor individually, a DJ individually. Like, it can just become a lot. So the less stress, the better for yourself as far as planning. So I would highly recommend an all-inclusive venue. And in terms of your venue, you want to pick your venue based off the number of guests that you have. So for example, if you are having a wedding with 500 guests, you don't want to choose a venue that only holds 50. And if you're only having a venue with 75 guests, you don't necessarily need a venue that holds 600 or 700 people. So you do want to keep that in mind just for aesthetic purposes, and even saving money. Bigger venues usually are going to cost more money. So you do want to keep that in mind with the number of guests you're inviting in terms of your venue. Also, with your guest list, you need to be realistic. What my husband and I did, and I know it sounds terrible, we made a list of have to be there and maybes. Of course, you want to invite family, close friends, people who've contributed to your relationship, but at the end of the day, everybody cannot come to your wedding. If it's a cousin 10 times removed that you haven't seen in 20 years and only your mother wants you to invite, maybe they could go on the maybe list. You do just want to be realistic because in terms of the number of guests, the most expensive thing for a wedding, in my experience, was not the actual wedding, it was the reception, because you're paying per person for food. So that is something to consider with your guest list. Even you do also want to consider whether you want to invite kids or whether you do not want to invite children. For my wedding, we didn't necessarily say no children. You could bring children, but we just didn't have a lot of children at the wedding. We don't have many small children in our family, so it wasn't the biggest concern. But that is something also to consider if you want a no children reception, because per person for food can get very expensive, and that's usually going to be the most expensive thing. Alcohol, food, also considering cake. So you do want to consider that when you are making your guest list. And next thing is going to be your dress. So my dress I actually got from a boutique in my hometown, but I would highly recommend considering a pre-owned wedding dress. My wedding dress, I wore it for 6 hours, and it's been sitting in my closet in a box ever since. Some pre-owned wedding dress websites would be things like preowneddweddingdress.com, tracy.com, stillwhite.com. I'll link all those websites below. They can be very helpful. You can talk back and forth with the seller. They'll send you pictures. I would highly recommend that. Even if you do go to a boutique or go to a store when they're having a trunk sale or having a sale on dresses where you can actually buy them off the rack, I would highly recommend that, because literally my dress has been sitting in my closet since I got married, and I've not touched it and done nothing else with it. So I would recommend a pre-owned wedding dress just to save some money. And also for photography, my photographer was also from my hometown. I found her online. Some of my other friends had actually used her for their wedding, and I really liked her pictures and the way that she did them. And during the time, she was actually having a $500 credit, so that was very helpful. With photography, you do want to try to find people who are possibly having a sale, someone's adding in extras, printables. With photographers nowadays, which I wasn't aware of, they usually don't even print the pictures out for you. They'll give you the pictures on a media or a USB drive for you to print yourself. So any little bit helps. And that's the next thing with photography. That was what was most important to me when we were planning our wedding. You've got to pick what is most important to you. That would be my number one thing. You can't have the most expensive dress, the most expensive venue, the most expensive caterer, the most expensive. You've got to pick one thing and hone in on it. So for me, that was photography, because I know those would be memories that I would be able to look back on years later. So we splurged a little on the photography and our videographer, but on some other things we cut back because it just wasn't necessarily the biggest of deal to me. So you do want to get in your mind what is the most important thing for you. Maybe spend a little bit more or on that, and then everything else you want to try to stay under budget, or stay under whatever dollar amount you are wanting to spend on those things. And stationery, my save the dates I got from minted.com. Super easy. We used our engagement picture. They have templates, examples. You can just type in your information of your details on the save the date. They'll print them out. They send you envelopes, and you can just send them out. I think we got 150 save the dates, and it was $250. Not a terrible price, but on that website they can go up to $10 per save the date. So you do want to keep that in mind when you are choosing whatever save the date you are looking for. The other thing with stationery, period, save the dates and invitations, buying a rubber stamp is the most helpful thing, because sitting and self-addressing and handwriting your own address can take forever, and it's very annoying. So I'll link below the rubber stamp that I got off of Amazon.com. It just had my husband and my husband's name, my name, the address we were living at the time, and literally you just stamp it onto the envelope. Super easy. I think the stamp was $25, but it saves so much time in terms of writing, because that can take up quite a bit of time when you have other things to be planning for and you are still living the life. So I would highly recommend that, and I will link that down below. And also for the invitations, we actually made our invitations ourselves. We had initially gone with someone who designed a suite for us, but that didn't work out. So we did make our invitations ourselves. I will highly recommend Etsy.com, which I'll also link down below. Etsy was very helpful. They have pre-made templates for your wedding invitations, so you could just buy that template, and then if you have a computer, desktop computer, laptop, go on Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, you can edit in your information, and then just go get it printed at Office Depot, Office Max, FedEx, whatever the case is, and then then you will have your invitation. We even bought envelopes, I think from Office Depot. We got some other things from Hobby Lobby just to decorate the invitation. So that is something. And then this is actually the invitation that we made. It's old. I just found it, but this is just the invitation we made. I just got some glitter cardstock from Hobby Lobby. This template we got off of Etsy. I want to say it was $20, and then you can just print whatever you want. I just got a cutter to make some little patterns here on the corners, and I just added a little pearl applique or a pearl design to each invitation. It literally took my husband and I 24 hours because we were running behind and running late with the invitations. So I would of course highly suggest having enough time for that. If you are doing any do-it-yourself things or DIYs, you do want to make sure that you space that out because they can be more time consuming than you think. Possibly working on a few invitations every day, setting a timeline for that, so you do want to stay on time with that. Invitations were not a big thing to me. I looked at it as pieces of paper people were throwing away. My own mom doesn't remember what my invitation looks like, so I highly doubt anyone else does. It wasn't that important to me, but if that's important to you, pick your important and go with it. And for the wedding programs, also got those off of Etsy. Same thing, a template. I want to say it was $5. I just punched holes at the top, got some coral ribbon. Those were my colors, coral, and to jazz it up a little, and then we just went with that. So Etsy can be very helpful. Also got my bridesmaids gifts, my wedding veil. Etsy's great for if you want things that are personalized but not so expensive. For the bridesmaids gifts, I got robes with everyone's initial, and then little tote bags with everyone's initials, and then of course just some other little knick-knacky things, mirrors, pins, things of that nature. But with the bridesmaids gifts, you do want to set a budget for that as well because it can get very expensive, especially depending upon how many bridesmaids you have. For example, I had 7 bridesmaids, so I had to keep it under a budget. So that is something to keep in mind as well. And for my flowers, my mother's actually made my flowers. She did my bouquet, my throwaway bouquet, my boutonnieres for the groomsmen, my husband, the flowers for the mothers, the grandmothers, my bouquet. She just knows how to do that type of thing. Again, a do-it-yourself thing. I will try to link a video down below of some DIY bouquets. It's really not that difficult to make. I'm not a flower person. I don't even have plants in my house, so it wasn't a big thing to me. I didn't want to spend $5,000. I got a quote from a florist. I want to say it was $4,500. I don't want to spend that much on flowers that are going to probably die in 2 to 3 weeks. It is very pretty, but for me, it wasn't that big of a deal. And this is actually the bouquet that my mom made. I actually keep it in my bedroom. On my dresser. It is very pretty. She even put some ribbon at the bottom and tied some ribbon around it. So it is very pretty. These are going to be silk flowers. They are artificial, but they're silk flowers, so they do look more realistic. They are a little bit more expensive, but they're not as expensive as real flowers. Real flowers just was not a big thing to me, but if they are a big thing to you, go for it. Again, just pick what's most important for you, but everything can't be important. So again, for me, it was photography. So that's what I did for my flowers. And hotel rooms, you do of course, for the convenience of those traveling to come to see you get married and come into your wedding, of course do room blocks if possible. Just calling any hotel, you do want to try to find a hotel that's close to your venue. I want to say my hotel was 5-6 minutes. It was very close to my venue, just for traveling purposes, traffic, things of that nature. Also, I would highly recommend, usually with the wedding room blocks, most hotels should be able to give you and your spouse a complimentary room or complimentary days because you are bringing them so much business. So I would highly recommend asking if that's available or if they can give you way more of a discount than what the hotel room block is. And that is something that they should be able to do. And for our honeymoon, we actually went on a cruise. I wanted something that was all inclusive. For me, I didn't want to add any more stress of planning an individual vacation, what restaurant to go to, where to sightsee, things of that nature. I just wanted something that was one and done, so we went with a cruise. And actually, at my bridal shower, in lieu of gifts on my invitation, I asked for, instead of lingerie or household things, I asked for gift cards to our cruise line that could be applied towards the balance that was on our cruise. So I thought that was really helpful. And then we even had an extra balance to do some excursions and some things like that. So that is something to consider if you do want something more all-inclusive. A cruise was really great. Took care of everything, the food, the drinks, even the activities. So that is something to consider. I just didn't want the stress of planning an entire vacation along with the wedding. So that is something to consider with your honeymoon. Also, wedding website, we use weddingwire.com, completely free. We didn't have to pay for a domain. The template, you just type in all of your information, super easy. You can upload your pictures. That was the easiest thing for me. Weddingwire.com was very helpful. I put it on our save the dates, and it had so much information, our hotels information, bridal shower information, of course, pictures of the bridal party. It was just easier because, you know, a lot of people lose save the dates and lose invitations, so they don't have that information, so they could just refer back to that website if they did have any questions. And also, concerning weddingwire.com, they do have an actual website. So literally everything, makeup, hair, band, the videographer, I found them on weddingwire.com. You can actually type in the location of where your wedding is and type in each subject or each thing that you would need, and they're actual reviews of people who have had weddings who have used these companies or these vendors. So it makes you more comfortable using these people, because again, we were having more of a destination out of town wedding, so I wasn't really familiar with so much of venues and things of that nature in New Orleans. So that was very helpful. I would highly recommend weddingwire.com. The reviews are great. People responded through email messages. It wasn't difficult to contact, so that was something that was very helpful as well. And also the knot.com, they have a checklist, a year checklist, what you should do 12 months out, 11 months out, 10 months out, etc., which was very helpful for me. Of course, my mom had been married and my sister had got married a few years before, but I am a list person, I'm a visualization person, and I like to check things off. So the knot.com was really helpful with that, so I would highly recommend that, just to get a better visualization of things. They even have the order of how your bridal party should walk out, how people should stand, table settings, etiquette things. So it is a very helpful website, so I would also recommend that too. And 3 key points from this: you want to pick what's most important to you again. Pick your important. Again, photographer, videographer was important to me. It may be flowers for you, it may be your dress if you want to splurge on that, but you cannot splurge on everything. You do need to be realistic, because it is only a day, 4 to 6 hours, and you have to live your life after that. You need to pay bills. You still have to continue on after your wedding, so I would keep that in mind. Don't rush, take your time. My husband and I actually took about 1.5 years to plan our wedding, because we were paying for most of our wedding, so it just took us that long to pay for it. There's not any rush. Of course, if you do want to do it in 6 months, go for it, but I would highly recommend giving it at least a year, because it is so much to plan. And you just don't want to feel rushed and put extra stress on yourself more than you need to. So I would recommend at least giving yourself a year to plan it. And most importantly, it's your wedding. Do what you want. Everyone, of course, has their opinion. Everyone is going to tell you what they think is best, what you should, what you shouldn't do, what they did 20 years ago, what they're going to do. But it's not about them. It's about you and your spouse. So you do just want to keep that in mind, and know that it's a day to celebrate the both of you. So you do just want to make it your day. It's not anyone else's day, and you just don't want to have any regrets. So do what you want to do. Keep it within a budget. Be realistic. It's one day, 4 to 6 hours, and that's really all the tips and everything I have for you. If you have any questions, just leave comments below. Like this video, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.